And guess what? What I noticed is not only was this particular teacher being unfair and harsh towards my son, the same thing was happening to other dark-skinned students that were at that facility. Like, I noticed that, it came to me going to confront this woman who he was having an issue with. Guys, I tell you, I had to drink some brave juice. This woman looked intimidating. Imagine if... Hi everyone, my name is Kudzie Mapiye and welcome. On this channel, I do videos about my life living in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to choose the right school for Black kids in Australia. And for me, I have two kids. I have a 7-year-old and an 18-month-old. And my 7-year-old is now in school. And to be honest, as a Black woman, and I think as a Black family, one of the fears that you always have is with your children facing racism. Because as long as you are Black, as long as your skin looks like my skin, or your skin is another deep shade or shade of brown, you are going to face racism. Racism exists, it's there, and I think to think that there's a place in this world where you will not face it is being unrealistic. So that's whether you're living in Africa, whether you're living overseas, like out of Africa, it doesn't matter where you are. As long as there are different races in that country, racism is going to exist. And I knew that was going to be the case for me. And I knew that my kids, no matter how much I tried to protect them or I feared for them, it was inevitable that they will experience racism in some form or another. But I think the most important thing is realizing that when it comes to racism, it has degrees. There are there are random acts of racism. There's sometimes you experience racism and it doesn't happen a lot. And then there is an environment, a racist environment where racism is rampant, where you are consistently experiencing racism or racial discrimination. And when my son, when it came time for him to go to school, I had to really consider what type of school that I want him to be in, because I knew I didn't want to throw him to the wolves and put him in a racist environment. So I'm just going to share with you just one key thing that I think is essential, absolutely important for every Black parent to consider when they're choosing a school for their Black child. And that thing is observation. When it comes to choosing a school for Black kids, and this is what was my experience here in Australia, when it came to choosing a school for my son, I really had to be intentional, had to look at certain practices. And I think usually when people look for schools, it's usually you go to the front office, you talk to the people who deal with applications, you put an application in, and everything kind of happens in that front office, in that reception type of environment. But one thing you need to understand, people at the reception have been put there strategically to draw people in. They usually have friendly people, friendly messages, like a very welcoming environment, very nice looking reception, that you might get fooled to think that this is a good environment for your child. But what's important is what is happening beyond the reception area. What is happening on the school grounds? What is happening in the classrooms? So one thing that we did when it came to take my son or choose a school for my son was to really observe the culture in the school. And this meant that, yes, we did the whole front office stuff, did the application, got the forms at the front office. Yes, it looked nice, but we went around the school. We walked into the classrooms, observed how teachers were teaching the kids, had a feel of the culture, and to really see, like, is this an environment that I want to send my child? And I think that is very important. And if you do get a chance, before you choose a school for your Black child, try and attend some activities at that school. Like if they have a sports day, or if they have some kind of special event at the school, before you even enroll, attend those events. See what the culture is like. See what the people are like when they're like, where it's beyond the reception. See how the teachers treat the kids. Because one thing I've noticed is, if you as a parent experience racism or feel those racist vibes from a teacher, guess what? That's what your child is going to feel when you're not there. That's how they're going to treat your child, because you look like your child. There's no way they're going to be racist towards you and not be racist towards your child who's of the same race. So how you feel when you're talking to the teachers, how you feel when you're talking to the staff, is how your child is going to feel. And sometimes children might not be able to articulate it, but as an adult, you can feel that, I feel like I'm not very welcome here. I feel like these people are not very accepting of who I am. If you feel that from the get-go, that is a red flag to know that this is not the right environment for your child. And I just want to share this experience that I had, and hopefully it'll be a lesson to some people that can draw some lessons from this experience. My son was going to one of these extracurricular activities outside of school. And when I first got to that place, it was actually a swimming school. And that swim school, guys, had everything. It had everything you would want in a swim school. And I think to this day, one of the best swim schools in terms of equipment, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of just the look that I have ever come across. The best swim school. And I was drawn in by that. And I made the mistake of making the decision at the front office. Came at the reception, check-in facilities were exquisite, just the furniture, everything was just top notch. And I thought, this is the perfect school for my son. I enrolled my son into that swim school only for my son to experience some very uncomfortable things, like borderline racism. Like he really felt like one of the teachers there was intentionally just excluding him, being overly harsh on him more than the other kids. And he felt that, and he actually came and told me that. And before he even told, I think we kind of picked it up at the same time, like this teacher is, not really being fair. And I actually faced a challenge. I had to confront that teacher, because when it comes to my children, when it comes to any experience that they have, I always follow it up and I talk to the people involved. I let them know my concerns. And when it came to me going to confront this woman who he was having an issue with, guys, I tell you, I had to drink some brave juice. This woman looked intimidating. Imagine if this woman, she looked intimidated to me, an adult. Imagine how my young son was experiencing her. And I had to, I had no option. I had said, I'm going to confront this woman. I'm going to address these issues that, that I have observed that my son has experienced. But then it made me think, if I'm being intimidated by this, adult woman, I didn't take time to come and observe what was beyond the front office. I didn't actually take time before enrolling my son into this environment to see and observe how teachers were treating other children. And guess what? What I noticed is not only was this particular teacher being unfair and harsh towards my son, the same thing was happening to other dark-skinned students that were at that facility. I noticed that, and not only from that teacher, from other teachers as well. So there was actually quite a very racist culture at that center. And I was so devastated that I didn't do my due diligence as a parent to really observe, to really understand the environment before I enrolled my son. And that was such a painful experience for me. And to see my son going through that was the most heartbreaking thing. And I obviously removed him from that environment, enrolled him in another school where the culture is great. The teachers treat children well, and I actually observed this. I saw how even dark-skinned children, black children, were being treated in that facility, how teachers were talking to kids, how I didn't feel intimidated by even talking to the teachers. And I saw that, you know what, beyond the front office, this is a very good environment. The ironic thing is that great environment, that great culture, those facilities are not as good as the other place. So when it comes to choosing the best schools for black children, whether it be like the actual primary school or high school or extracurricular activities, it's not like, I think if you're a black parent, we should really go beyond the aesthetic, go beyond the look, go beyond what that place, like the vibe, like, you know, just the Instagram appeal of the place, go beyond that and look at the culture. And it might mean actually enrolling your child where the facilities are not the best, but the culture is good. And I find that, like, even when it comes to choosing private school versus public school or whatever, it goes beyond just private, public. It might seem, yes, private is the best, but not only that, go and feel the culture, experience the environment for yourself before enrolling your child. Because at the end of the day, a good looking school, great facilities where your child is being torn down, like torn apart, where they're being like, you know, their mental health is being affected. What good are facilities? The best thing is the culture and the environment. And it's up to us as parents to make the effort to experience that, to book several meetings, request things that are not even on the usual things that they offer, request to attend some events at the school before you enroll, request to have a walk around in the schools. We went around, like, before we enrolled my son, we went around the junior school, like right from prep to the senior classrooms, and had a feel of that environment, observed teachers teaching, observed how the kids were interacting, and it really helped us make that decision. So that's something to really consider if you have black kids and you want them to be in the great environment. That would be great and the best for their mental health. So that's all I had for you guys today. Please let me know if you have any insights, any experiences that you'd like to share in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.